What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. In this episode, I sit down with one of our pro staffers, Mike Tepe. He's from Michigan, out there in our Midwest region, and he has a series on Carbon TV that we produce called Midwest Mindset. Mike is very, very well versed in whitetail management, habitat management, and he's doing big things up there, local in his local area. That is to improve his whitetail environment. So I sit down with him. We have an awesome conversation in this episode, both about hunting in the Midwest, about hunting in Texas, the relevant to the time of year right now as far as what phase all of our preparation stages are in, and what we're looking forward to this upcoming fall, what kind of bucks we're seeing. We talk about some whitetail behavior. We talk about hunting tactics. We even talk about hog hunting, and we give you guys a little bit of teaser also into a hunt that him and I are both going to get to go on later this year in November. So I'm super excited about all of it. It's a great episode. I hope you guys enjoy. Talk also, another great thing we talk about is just the hunting industry in general, online media, and the evolution of such. We talk about all sorts of things. These are the type of podcasts I love to record because it's just an organic conversation that just between two friends that just flows. So can't wait for you guys to hear it. But before we get there, I have to tell you all the podcast is sponsored by Ridge Rock Hunt Company. Derek and Lacey over there in Mississippi, they book hunts with vetted outfitters across the country. So if you're looking for that next adventure, wherever it might be, give Derek a call. He'll work with you on timeline, licensing, location, outfitter, all that kind of stuff. Cost, he'll try to work with you on something that fits your budget. He will get you set up. So give Derek a call, Ridge Rock Hunt Company. Go check him out. Our other partner on the podcast is the Outdoor Call radio app. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV. He has an app that you can download on your phone or other device that basically allows you to stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. You will find Fall Obsession Podcast on there on Mondays, the same as our new episode releases. And it's great content. It's from all over the country, all over the industry. He also does a couple of live shows a week, and you can catch him on Facebook Live in person as well with those live shows. So if you're not following Outdoors Dan, be sure that you follow him on social media and download the Outdoor Call radio app. I got two more things for you. First off, if you are affiliated with a hunting and outdoor brand and you're interested in advertising your brand on our podcast, go to fallobsession.com/podcast. There is a form on there that you guys can fill out that will put you in touch with our production team, and we can talk with you about the opportunity to be an advertiser on here, to be a partner with us. We can talk to you about our analytics and what kind of numbers and what you can expect to see from promoting your brand on our podcast. So if that's an interesting thing for you or something that you want to consider, please send us a message on there. Lastly, Fall Obsession Podcast has been nominated for Best Podcast in the 2023 Carbon Awards, and this is the last week that you can vote for it. Voting stops August 31st. So if you guys haven't voted for us for the best podcast in that award category, be sure you go to carbontv.com. You have to go to it through a web browser. You can't go to it through the app. So be sure that you go vote for Fall Obsession Podcast. Our Texas Dirt series has also been nominated for Best Comedic Moment in a Show. Be sure you vote for Texas Dirt in that category. And also give our friends over at Soul Seekers some love and vote for them for Best Show Open. So carbontv.com/carbon awards. That's where you can go to vote. You can vote once a day through August 31st, 2023. Be sure that you do that and show us some support. I'm going to stop rambling. Thanks for listening to me. I'm going to turn it over to the episode. You're listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Another Fall Obsession podcast. I'm Sam, and I am on here this week with one of our pro staff members from the Midwest, Mike Tepe. Welcome back to the podcast, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, super excited to get back on here. Talk some whitetail hunting. The season is right around the corner, whether we like it or not, whether we're prepared for it or not. But it's that time of year, time to start getting excited. And I know I know we're working on getting some more episodes with your series out there. Midwest Mindset dished out. Nick's got those in his room, but wanted to talk to you about what you got going on your properties up there in the Midwest, and some of the whitetails you're seeing, some of the work you've been doing. I know I'm giving it the 30,000 foot view right here. We can dive in, but um, yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready for fall. It's going to be here before we know it.
Man, every year I swear we get to this point and we're like, I wish I was ready. I wish I would have got more done. And this year is no exception to that point at all.
Yeah, it's it's definitely we've been dealing with a really dry summer down here in Texas, worse than last year. We've had no rain, and just uh, been in the triple digits for I don't even know how long at this point with our temps, and makes it really hard to want to go out there and work on your property and stuff for hunting. But we're getting it done. We're getting things ramped back up down here, but what have you been doing? What have been some of the big, and maybe we'll back up a little bit for our listeners that might not be as familiar with what you're doing up there. But just give us a brief overview once again of kind of what you have to work with up there, and then let's dive into kind of where you're at and the improvements you've made this year.
Yeah, so I've got a few properties here in southern Michigan and in northern Indiana. I travel up to about an hour and 30 minutes here from the house to some of these properties. And this year, I've been able to get a fair amount of work done here for the series Midwest Mindset and just for the overall hunting on some of these properties. A lot of these properties are mixed ag, hardwoods here in the Midwest. Mostly flat terrain. We don't have much topography here in this area. But so far this year, I've been able to get out early on here on the home property and make my food plot about a third the size it was before, which is about, now we're pushing about a half an acre now on that one particular food plot behind the house, where 2 years ago, we probably weren't even at a quarter acre if we were. Got in there this winter, took down some big mature trees. Been working on getting that taken care of. Actually, went back to some grain. Got some corn planted right in front of the blind. I kind of was wanting it for a multi-purpose, not only for the deer to eat the corn, but as access getting in and out of the blind. It's about 10 yards in front of the blind. The way that we approach in, we come in from kind of below, like I said. So we don't have a lot of topography, but we do have enough that we can kind of sit down low, pop right up in the blind. The only spot that we're really exposed is that last 5 yards getting into the blind. And so with the corn grew great. I mean, even for being back in the woods, even though it's only a half acre cut out in the woods, it's an average of 8 foot tall, 2 to 3 ears of corn on each one. Also went in and planted the other rest of the half acre in soybeans.
Okay.
Had to go in about 3 weeks after planting, install an electric fence with a solar panel. And that's my first time doing it. And I don't know if I'll ever not do it again when it comes to soybeans. They're just so desirable to not just whitetails, but a little bit of everything in this area. And I tried going without it, and they just mowed me down. And I put that fence up, and now I've got waist-high soybeans that look just absolutely phenomenal. I'm a little torn when I'm going to pull that fence down.
Yeah.
How long do I want to leave it up? I don't want them wiping me out before our October 1st opener here in Michigan. But at the same time, I want them to be able to benefit from all those green, lush leaves on the beans. Leave those pods alone for late season. Also, what you guys seen in the Midwest Mindset, the 8 acre property that's right down the road from me, I got a 3/4 acre cornfield planted in there this year. Phenomenal results. You got great soil there, great sunlight. I've got over 10 foot tall corn out there this year, and I'm not a farmer. So, I mean, just phenomenal results from that. Just went in there about 3 weeks ago now and got a brassica plot in between the corn and the woods. The planted the corn not just for food, but for screening because of the way that property sets up. That road is only 80 yards off of the woods. And so I set that corn out by the road up to the woods, and you can't see the woods. There's no way you can see the woods. I don't anticipate you'll be able to see the woods unless maybe we get a heavy wet snow to knock some of that corn down. But yeah, that's looking great. Got a poor man food plot put back in by the swamp. Just used hand tools. Just checked that today, actually. That's coming up. That was my last plot that I got in there. It's only been maybe 10 days since I've gotten that one in. About 2 inches tall on everything in there. I think I did a total of 12 fall food plots this August, between behind the house and the other properties I have to hunt, and got perfect timing on all of them. Got great rainfall on all of them. And so super excited for that, to see what we got going into fall.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, those some big strides for sure, and some awesome success. It sounds like everything's coming together. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. I know it's only an 8-acre property down the road. I'm excited because it's down the road 3 minutes from my house, so that's awesome. And this property's never had food. There's food across the road, and during the fall, it's just the guy that got permission is a buddy of mine, and it's like a cow pass where they're going across the road because there's no food on that side because it's just swamp, marsh, a lot of bedding, but no food. So they're constantly, and I drive through there a lot for work in the mornings. I don't know how many deer I've almost hit, and some exceptional bucks. Honestly, every year, 1 or 2 exceptional bucks I almost take out on the way through there. And so I'm really excited to see what this food brings into that location.
That's awesome. So I know while you're doing all this, you're scouting too. I know you got those cameras out there, and you're watching what you can on those. What are you seeing as far as whitetail behavior, whitetail growth, all that kind of stuff?
We had an exceptional grow year here in the Midwest. I don't know if we have any bad grow years here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
You hear guys down in your neck of the woods talk about moisture and how that pertains to antler growth, and I hear it a lot out west with elk and mule deer and so on, where you guys can get some serious droughts. Here in the Midwest, that's less common. And overall this summer, we got pretty good moisture. Started out dry this summer, but it's finished strong. And I would say this year's been an exceptional grow year. We didn't have a bad winter last year, so the deer went into spring probably a little bit healthier than normal outside of some of them rutted up bucks. And so, yeah, we're seeing pretty good quality right now in Michigan and in Indiana. Indiana, like normal, is a uptick on the quality. Being a 1 buck state, a lot of them bucks get a little bit more age. But even the bucks we're seeing in Michigan for their age class are showing good potential.
Awesome. Very cool. I know you sent me some pictures the other day, and I was pretty impressed with what you got to work with up there this year. It's looking pretty good. So I'm excited for you.
Yeah, those were some Indiana bucks I sent you. I haven't sent you any Michigan bucks yet. I hate to say this on here.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, well, I got one behind the house that I got an eye on. I've been watching him. This is year 3 now of watching him. So I'm thinking he might be 4 years old. And here in Michigan, I'm not letting a 4-year-old go. It's too hard to find. And if he gives me an opportunity with a bow in my hand, he's done.
Yeah.
And so I've got I don't really get regular bucks in the summer. We've set our property up. It's a little too thick. They don't like crashing their velvet on all the brush. So we get a couple fringe pictures of them here and there on the where they like to go out on the edge there to get out to the neighbors' ag fields. But yeah, he's definitely got my attention here in Michigan. And then I think there's 5 of them right now that I'm aware of in Indiana. That 3 for sure, and then 2 borderline that I'm aware of.
Wow. That sounds promising.
Well, I tell you what, we've been super busy this year. Built a deck on the back of the house, and that literally took up the last 30 days of my, spare time working on that after work till 9 o'clock some nights, and it's done. Thank God, we're happy. But if it wasn't for those Tacticam reveals, I mean, that saves me so much time on the scouting side of things. I can take an hour, 2 hours, and run and get these cameras set up and let them do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to the other day. I had to put on one of my stands a card pull because the older cell cam that I had on there, it pooped out on me. So I had to put a card pull, and I was like, I feel blind. I don't know what to I don't know what to do with this. You mean I got to pull the memory card out to see what's going on
Yeah,
here? It's like, man, technology has spoiled us. So
you got that right. I was down here in the basement yesterday looking through some of my gear as I was putting out another Tacticam, and I found like 15 or 20 SD card cameras, and I'm like, oh, do I put these out or do I not?
yeah, that's kind of the line that I walk too, because like I'm the same way. I dig through a tub or a hunting bag, and I'm bound to find an old SD card camera in there somewhere, which is crazy to me now when I stop and think about it, because I can remember when it was a big thing to have every single one of them in the field. Now they're just sitting in a bag, but yeah, and then the battle of, well, is it worth my time and effort to put it out, not just for the reconnaissance, but then I got to go out there and pull the card and come back and read it and all that. And yeah, I sound bougie on here talking like that, but that's what technology has done. So yeah.
Well, especially for guys like me that remember the old 35 millimeter film, and you're rushing it to Walmart or Meyer and doing the 1 hour photo, and you just can't wait to get a whole film worth of raccoons.
That's how it was for me growing up. Whenever my dad would like take pictures, because like I'd shoot. We didn't film any hunts. We didn't have trail cameras. We didn't do anything like that growing up. But shoot a deer, and you gotta wait till all the film's used up before you take that thing in there to get it developed and get your kill shot picture. And it was just it was like it's like an event after the season where you would get all your pictures all at once and you get to relive those moments. So I remember that, and now it's just on this thing.
Oh, it's a blessing and a curse.
Same, absolutely. So what's the plan opening? You said October 1st. What's the plan opening day right now? Where I mean, obviously don't give away your secrets, but where are you going to be?
I'm not generally a guy that gets too excited about opening day. We generally here, I mean, I know this isn't much compared to you guys, but we're usually in that 70 to 80 range the first half of October. It's not always that way, but it's definitely not uncommon. And I don't normally have bucks that I have lined up yet from the summer pattern to go after. Those 2 that I sent you that I'm real excited about, I'm hoping that they will get on some kind of pattern, because right now they're hitting the clover, and the clover is still going to be really attractive that first half of October until we get some good frosts. And I did broadcast Nebraska's in there, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that there will be some extra food in there for later on. But no, not a lot of excitement right now for that first day or week. Now, got the red moon right now predicted from I think it's October 2nd till like the 7th or something like that. Don't quote me. And so if the weather does cooperate, I'll be in a tree.
Yeah.
Now, whether I'm just going to go out and get a slick head and put some meat in the freezer, I don't know yet. But yeah, I mean, I get more excited when that calendar gets close to October 30th, 28th, right there, getting close to Halloween.
Yeah. What what kind of things do you look for? And I might be asking a question that's been asked on the podcast before, or something similar, but new episode, new year, Um,
Mhm.
what kind of things are you looking for as far as behavior in your bucks throughout the year, um, to give you the green light, and likewise the intel that you're gathering that will keep you from putting too much pressure on them?
Yeah, because that's the thing, man. Your time is just so valuable nowadays. And as a father and a husband like yourself, you really want to pick and choose those days that you take away from family. I
Right.
mean, that's just all there is to it. Every day's family day. And so, man, there's nothing worse than taking time away from that to go sit there and not see anything. And so I've really been more focused on quality sits instead of quantity of sits. And what I'm looking for, man, there's a few things I'm looking for. I'm looking for cold fronts. Like I said, I will pay attention a little bit to the red moon phases, but honestly, in my opinion, a cold front trumps that every day. I don't care what day it is on the calendar. If it's 75 degrees and tomorrow it's 60, probably a pretty good chance I'm going to be in the woods if I can clear the schedule,
Yeah.
especially in early mid-October. So I'm looking for that, and I'm relying pretty heavily on my Tacticam reveals with that daily update. Um, a lot of my cameras are already getting switched over to mock scrapes right now, just because we're almost a month out from season. I don't want to be in these spots just muddying it up every other day, every other week. So I want to get fresh camera batteries out. I want to get them where I want to hunt. And when they let me know they're there and in either in legal shooting hours or approaching legal shooting hours, they're showing up 5 minutes, 10 minutes after legal shooting hours in the evening, but it's 75 degrees out. And all of a sudden, like I said, it's 60, it's 55. Hey, that little uptick in that could definitely change him to now all of a sudden he's getting up 10, 20 minutes earlier. Now all of a sudden we can make things happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely watching the cameras. Just basing it off of what I'm seeing when I do go out and hunt. And I'm trying to do the less is more here to start the season out. I hate the saying you can't kill them on the couch. I get it, but at the same time, man, if you're never on the couch, you may not kill them because you're just out there way too often and when you shouldn't be.
Yeah, I agree, and so that's kind of like anything. Like if you try to research something, a mentality, a tactic, a reason for anything, not just hunting, but for anything, you can find stuff online or wherever that both justifies and goes against the argument and stuff like that. So yeah, you can hear all day from the hunters who talk about, well, if I hadn't have been hunting every day for 18 days, I wouldn't have seen that buck at 12:30 in the afternoon, strolling through if I didn't hunt all day all the time. Yeah, there's probably some truth to that, but to your point earlier, what kind of time commitment are you gonna give it? And yeah, you have to make your hours count out there in the stand. So always stuff to take into account, whether it's not just if you're out there, but I know for me down here, like when I am out there, you know, where am I going to be based on, time of day, wind direction, what the cameras are showing, all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, I got some guys I talk to that are single. And hey, would you hunt tonight? Yeah, dude. If I'm single, yeah. If I got enough property to hunt, I'll hunt every day of the season.
yeah,
I mean, I used to kill a lot of deer like that back in my 20s because I would hunt 6 days a week. I didn't care. I'd get an evening hunt in here or there, a morning hunt. But I was very fortunate enough, back in my 20s, I probably had 10 different spots that I could hunt within a 30, 40-minute drive of my house. So you always had something fresh, and you always had something you could hunt depending on the wind. So, everybody's situation is different, but as, a married man like yourself and I and have young kids at home, that time's precious now, man.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I remember when I worked at the bow shop, I would work four tens a week. I'd work on Monday and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So during the season, I would like every single week for all of hunting season, I would hunt Sunday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And on Mondays, normally I would get a morning hunt in and then come in late and work a later shift or something like that. And like every single week, I would do that exact same thing. I didn't have anything else to do, you know. And I mean, I shot some deer and put some meat in the freezer and stuff for sure. And probably some frequency had something to do with that, but
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing that now. So
Yeah. No, yeah, it's tough, but yeah, there's not just one way to do it. There's so many different ways out there that you can be successful in the woods when you're chasing whitetail, and I think that's what we, as sportsmen, as hunters, as conservationists, I think that's kind of what draws us all. And not only is whitetail readily available, basically across the country, but there's so many different ways that you can hunt them and be successful in different tactics.
yeah, yeah. I have a friend down here. He's been on the podcast once before a while back. His name's Jesse Johnson. He hunts public land very exclusively down here, and with a trad bow at that. He has a couple. I go to church with him, and he has a couple other buddies there at church that hunt public land frequently with him as well. And I can remember sitting in there one morning behind one of them, and he's got a little speck of blood on his dress shirt. And I'm like, I'm kind of looking at it, and come down the stairs afterward, and look out the window in the parking lot, and he's got a big old 8-point sitting in the back of his truck, and he's showing it off. He went and hunted public land that morning before church, shot an 8-point, didn't even like dressed him, didn't have time to do anything else, just threw him in the back. His wife said that he had his church clothes on under his hunting clothes so that he could just shed them off real quick as he was walking through the door. I was like, dude, that's commitment right there.
Dude, that's epic.
Yeah. So many different ways to do it. So many different schools of thought. So.
Yeah, and that's what's so awesome about it. Who cares? Just go out there and do your thing, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not just for what works for you to a point. And when I say what works for you, still got to be smart about it. When it comes to hunting the wind or not over hunting, in my opinion, you got to keep that in mind regardless. But yeah, like you up there in the Midwest, me down here in Texas, guys out west, everybody's got a different environment and different circumstances that influence that time in the woods. So it comes down to, like you said, what works for you, opportunity, and just a little bit of forethought. So
yeah, could you imagine, like, if I just called you up this fall, hey Sam, come take a week off, come hunt up here, you'd be up here like, I'm gonna do what? We're gonna sit there.
Hey,
I can't see nothing.
Yeah.
There's no feeder. I mean, what are we waiting on here?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'd do it. Don't get me wrong, but I'd certainly be asking a lot of questions.
Well, yeah, because I guarantee you, if I come down to Texas, I'm gonna be like, where do I set up out here in this sagebrush?
Mesquite's where I'm at. You don't want to be mixed up in those spiky things. They're nasty.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. I mean, think of the habitat differences across this country, and the whitetail thrive in all of it.
Yeah,
and it's awesome. I think it's so awesome that God created these species and that we get the that we readily available to us to be able to harvest. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, wow, we're so blessed, so blessed. We need to
Absolutely.
remember that.
Yeah. I mean that's why they're here. They're here
Yeah.
for us in that sense. And yeah, to your point, just wherever you go, and you mentioned earlier whitetail being a predominant species across the U.S., but um, there's something for everybody to hunt everywhere, regardless of where you
Hmm.
go. And going off on that a little bit too, it's unique to the experiences that are special to different people. And I know I've talked about it on here before, but one that always just kind of sticks with me is Todd last year coming down here to hunt pigs down here. To me, hunting pigs is just it's like hunting varmints, it's just something that you do from time to time, and nothing super crazy or special about it. But to Todd, that was as he put it in the video itself, that was a bucket list hunt. And that stuck with me, is like, you know what, this to me, this is just normal, but to somebody else, this is a special deal. So it's just unique depending on where you go. And likewise, if I went anywhere north of here, pretty much it would be a similar experience. So it's very interesting.
I think we get so used to hunting the game that is readily available in our areas that, like you said, it's like it's just a pig or a hog, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, what's so special? But then you got guys like Todd and me and all these guys in the Midwest. Like, if we seen a pig running through the woods, not only would we be like freaking out, but we'd be grabbing whatever weapon we could if we weren't gonna be breaking any laws.
Yeah.
Because I like bacon. So
Well, there's some down here that you legitimately don't want to turn into bacon.
yeah.
There's some that are good eating, but like that big one I killed last year, he was nasty. And I got another one this year that is equally the same
Yeah, you
size.
can get
So
Hogzilla too.
maybe, man. I saw him in person, the second one last year, one time. Didn't get a shot at him, but he's still staying in the same area. I took a mineral block out to this location where I have a camera set up that he frequents. I took a mineral block out there last week, and I set it out and have a camera on it and everything. Within 48 hours, that block was out of the camera. Like, I don't know where it is. He's been out there playing soccer with it, just kicking it
Oh,
around, pushing it around. I'm like, well, I mean, I hope something's eating on it, but that was a waste of a trail cam spot, because I have no idea where it is. He showed up within 2 days and started messing around with the thing. So they're
oh
just
wow.
that one in particular. He's a nuisance, more so than the other one that I shot. This one's just he's smart, he's intelligent, which is something that's a whole nother podcast. But that's something that people don't give pigs credit for. Is there's a misconception that all of them are just dumb, and
Yeah.
not the case. They're smart.
Well, that's good to know if I ever get a chance to hunt them. Not taken for granted, but that's kind of how it is with anything you hunt. And if you're new at hunting something, I definitely would go into it not wanting to think that that it's easier than you think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been an educational piece for me on this place. I mean, for so many reasons, but in regards to the pigs, like even myself, like there's always been, as I said, the misconception that they're dumb, and I think people believe that when they see them in groups, which is pretty frequent for the sows and piglets. And it's not because they're dumb, it's simply because they are creatures of habit to a point. As far as, if you have a frequent food source like we do down here in Texas for them, like they will show up at the same time, the same day, all the time. Um, but when they're in larger groups, they don't have good eyesight at all. It's their biggest downfall.
Mhm.
But when they're in larger groups, all their other senses of smell, hearing that they rely on are dampened down, because they can't hear or smell very good over their own stench or their own noise. So that's why
Oh wow.
people get to thinking, hey, these things are stupid, but they're not.
Hmm.
They're pretty intelligent, and this place is the first place I've ever had where the boars, unless there's a sow in heat, the boars travel by themselves. They're loners. And that's been the educational piece that I've learned as far as a little bit more about how smart these creatures are, because I've been dealing with these boars that are by themselves and are very smart. So they've
So it's
schooled
kind of
me a
like
couple times.
it's kind of like the opposite of white-tailed deer, man. I love seeing a big old buck just come on in all by himself because you don't got that doe or two or doe family in front of them that you got to fool first and get them go by you first, so you can come to full draw or
Yeah.
whatever. So it sounds like them big boars, they want silence. They don't want all that distraction, so they can kind of be focused in on their environment.
Yeah. No, the one time that I had this boar that's still out there, that's playing soccer out there, the one time that I had him in front of me, um, I was switching to my trash arrow because I don't want to. I'm not superstitious. I just don't want to shoot one of my good arrows into a pig that might run off with it. So I have a trash arrow in my quiver just for pigs, and I was switching over to it.
Yeah.
And when I knocked it in, barely made a noise, and that was he was listening, and he didn't bolt or anything, but his head went up and he turned and walked away immediately. He knew
How
that
far was it?
he was 25 or 30 yards, I don't remember. So
Wow.
it was in one of my stand setups, but yeah, he was honed in on those senses. And yeah, a group of pigs, if your wind's good, you could practically walk right up to them sometimes. I've done it before. So it's crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, you do see some of them. I've seen them hunts in Texas for where they're hunting a javelina,
Yeah.
and it might be a little different than what you've got. But I see them walking right down a dirt road, and it's like they just walk right up to them 20, 30, 40 yards and shoot them. It's like, I don't look hard.
Yeah. Yeah, when I've never hunted javelina, I won't even try to speak to that, but yeah, with these I've followed a group of pigs right behind them and stuff before, and yeah, I've half the time just to kind of mess around with them and see what you are able to do with a group of them. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. So I have a guy that I'm trying to schedule for a podcast, and this is something for the listeners, viewers to look forward to. I don't have a date yet, but a guy that's very well versed in hog hunting down here for years, and I'm going to do a exclusive hog hunting podcast with him to talk in more detail about some of these behaviors and stuff, and some of the stuff I've already spoken about how they're more smarter than we give them credit for. So
Nice. I want to take a second and talk to you about what's going on down there at Texas Dirt this year. How are things looking? Was it year 3?
year 3, yep.
Yeah. How are things? I mean, I feel like as a listener of the podcast, you don't dabble too much in the Texas Dirt exactly during the year as much as maybe some of us would like to hear the updates on how things are going down there, not just from hey, we're filling feeders up,
Yeah.
we got some quality deer, we're figuring this property out. I mean, how's this looking going into year 3? I mean, pretty high optimistic that, this is going to be, it getting better and better.
I am optimistic about it for sure. As we were talking before we started recording, it's been pretty dry down here. We've had a very hot, very dry summer, more so than last year, which is not very, doesn't make me very happy about that, because last year, being year 2 on Texas Dirt, we had some intentions, we had some plans to maybe start integrating some food plots and everything. When we started seeing what the weather was doing, we're like, well, we're going to hold off till next year. Well, now we're into next year and it's even worse. So it feels like all those plans just keep getting delayed further and further. But we made last year, as far as what setups we have working for us, as far as the number of spots that we had scouted, that we had gathered intel on, that we put stands and setups on, we had upped that drastically from year 1 to year 2. So, like, my first trip out this year to get everything, squared away, and, that initial preseason trip, if you will, I felt like at first I was doing the same stuff that I did all of last year, and it felt redundant. But at the end of the day, the realization that I had, was obviously man, it's all up from here. Like in 6 hours, I just got everything back to the max that we had it last year. So now
Okay.
all of my efforts, every trip I go out there from here on out, everything is improvement. Everything is building upon that. Everything is doing something else. We scouted toward the end of last year. We scouted several spots that we wanted to put new stands on and new setups on. My dad found a really good spot actually that's not 300 yards from camp. Actually, it's pretty close. That was one big realization that we had. Just looking, if you look at a map, like our camp is pretty close to the front gate, like most places or leases down here, similar to ours, probably are. But we have 807 acres to work with, and we realize that there's probably about 60 to 80 acres northeast of our camp that we really haven't touched, that we really haven't ventured into at all. And it's mostly mesquites and little scrub brush and, short stuff. So that's probably some of the reason we hadn't gotten into it yet. But my dad, he put a lot more hours in the woods last year than I did. And he did a lot of scouting and walked a lot of trails, walked a lot of areas, and he went up into that area and he found a good spot up in there. Where we don't have huge tall trees for tree stands. I only have the one tree stand from last year on the place, but he found another spot where we can put a tree stand in on a nice little clearing up there. So that's the next plan, this next trip out, which him and I are going back out there at the time we're recording next week, and gonna finish out that spot. We already have some stuff up there, but we're going to finish it out so that it's ready to go. We don't have to touch it again until season starts. And then a couple other spots that Nick and I had found that we're looking to develop. We are learning the deer a lot better. We're learning the property a lot better. We've learned the deer sanctuaries a lot better, and we were never in them in the first place, but we're definitely developing some of our tactics and some of our strategies more around, letting those sanctuaries be and hunting the outskirts of them, or getting initial draw based on some of the topography and other resources around in regards to kind of where the deer are moving and stuff. I've seen a few decent bucks so far. My dad, on his stand, actually, his primary stand, that is, he probably has the nicest buck we're looking at, a 4.5-year-old 8-point. That's pretty good looking so far. And that's the nicest buck we've seen. If it mimics last year, though, it's going to be second, third week in September before I really start seeing the bucks start showing back up at some of our stands and everything. We are feeding more protein this year. We're feeding a protein and corn blend. That's an upgrade that we made. Year 1, year 2, we were really feeding mostly just corn. And this last year, actually starting last February, we started feeding protein. So we've been feeding protein all year long so far. And again, my bucks have been somewhat scarce. I've seen them here and there. From what I can see, it's improving from last year. But I'm really excited to see the full effects of what just a few months of feeding protein might do. Might not be much, I don't know, just with the drought and everything, how all that's going to kind of come to a head in the end. But it's at least a start, hopefully, for, even next year, if we continue feeding what we've been feeding and stuff. I honestly, it's a little premature to say, but I'm really excited for next year if we keep it up. So,
now, are you running pellets? Are you running protein pellets in there with your corn, just doing a mix?
Doing a mix, yes. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think. I mean, so many people are worried about feeding this year's crop of mature bucks. Hey, can I give them that extra 5% or whatever, 10% to help get them over the top? But by you starting to feed that protein too, corn doesn't have a lot of nutritional value.
Right.
It has more of an attraction value. And by you throwing that protein in there, in my opinion, you should be really excited about 3, 4, 5 years from now, because now these fawns, these button bucks and the does, you want healthy does too, but these fawns, button bucks, are getting this protein because, yeah, you're saying you're not just loaded with bucks in the summer. And around here, I hate having loaded with bucks in the summer. That's never a good thing around
Right,
here.
exactly.
Not down there where you're at, but if I got them all in the summer, they're not going to be here in the fall because that just means the habitat doesn't match what they want at that time of year. And so, but with you getting all these fawns off to that great start, year one, and then there's a good chance they'll be back next year as a year and a half olds. Like, I think that could make a significant improvement, in year 3, 4, and 5 when those bucks are growing. I think you're going to notice the quality jump.
Yeah, and that's the hope is that we can maintain this moving into the long term with these bucks and again, like last year we saw, because of the drought last year, we saw a huge regression from year 1 to year 2 as far as the quality of bucks that we were seeing. And so this year I'm hoping we're at least on an somewhat of an incline in that. But again, like we're thinking of the future, as you just mentioned, all the way through this. That's why last year, not a single one of us that hunt that place shot a mature. I don't want to use the word trophy, but like a good mature buck. All of the deer that we killed were management quality deer, as far as the bucks were. So we we pretty early on last year chalked last year up to a management year in that sense. Granted, if we saw a really big deer, I doubt any one of us would pass on him. But we are playing the long game with it, however it shakes out, and so again, we're laying the foundation in these early years for, as you mentioned, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, and what it's going to look like then. And I mean, it's been a lot of work. We've made a lot of improvements in 3 years. I'm excited for, for what 3 more is going to do. It's probably going to look totally different in 3 more years than it does right now too. But it's yeah, that drought has just been the biggest holdup. We have three ponds or tanks, whatever you call them, depending on where you're from, on the property, and one of them is completely bone dry at this point. I've never seen a single one of them dry. It's the smallest one, but it's been dry for a while. The other 2 are thankfully still holding water reasonably, but I mean, it's definitely, I'm hoping we're on the tail end of this summer heat at this point, and then we'll hopefully have some September rain coming in and can help those ponds out too. But I don't want to lose our fish or lose any of our ponds either. So
yeah, because I knew you had like actual fishing ponds on the place too.
yeah, so I mean, the small one had some smaller fish in it. We never caught anything decent out of there. The other 2 that still have water, thankfully, those are the 2 that have some decent bass in them. So, and I mean, I'm not a huge. I'll be the first to admit I'm not huge into fishing and stuff like that. My wife is actually more into fishing than I am, but it's cool to have stock ponds on the place that some people might look at as shooting fish in a barrel. I look at it as it's a chance to get the kids out there and actually get a fish on a hook for them and give them a good experience in the outdoors. So.
Well, yeah, the wife and kids could do a little fishing too if you want to run out and either hunt or do some work and trail cameras, and gives them a reason to want to be there.
Yeah, we've done that before for sure. So,
yeah.
In regards, and to summarize the Texas dirt stuff, in regards to the series itself, we're trying, again, just like we are with the property, we're trying to grow and improve the series and the show people can find on, CarbonTV and YouTube. I going back and watching like last year's episodes, or certainly year 1, as the season goes on, you get deeper into the episodes, you start to, at least I, as a producer, start to see the regression of the quality of filming or what I'm able to capture on film and stuff. So my biggest intention is to try to keep that more consistent and of a higher quality going deeper. And then also, it's easy when the season starts to turn it into a hunting show And while there will be stuff like checking cameras or filling feeders in it from time to time, I don't want that to be the sole focus of this series moving forward. So whenever I'm out there, even if I am filling a feeder, I try to spend more time talking about the location, the significance of it, why we put this stuff here, what this spot does for us, and where the deer move from. Try to be a little bit more intentional with the production and the information that we're sharing through it. So that's some of the direction we're taking the series. We've already filmed the pilot episode for season 3. We're trying to get another. We just released this first little clip of this little mini Hog Wars prequel thing that we're doing. We put that out today, actually, at the time of recording. But we're going to try to get another one of those out with a little bit more action, and then be kicking off season 3 sometime in September. Be dropping our first episode. So that's kind of the plan moving forward.
Well, that's exciting to hear. I think we're evolving in hunting, and when I say we're, I mean everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody that's been a hunter for multiple years, maybe not so much the new hunters or newer hunters. You think back to when you used to watch hunting TV and outdoor network channels, or maybe it was Saturday morning on your local channel. They had a monster buck reel tree or something, in the morning. And we were all just worried about that kill shot. I mean, we just wanted to see that big buck or whatever. We wanted to see that kill shot. We wanted to see deer hit the ground. And we're evolving in this outdoor space.
Mm-hmm.
And there is getting to be a premium put on guys and gals searching out information to become better conservationists, better outdoorsmen and outdoorswomen, and better hunters, and how they can create a better scenario for hunting, a more successful one, enjoy their time more so in the field. And you're just seeing that demand rise in this industry, where everybody wants more content based on off-season work. Okay, that's cool, Sam, you killed that nice buck, but why? Was there a reason behind that location? What made you decide to pick that 5 acres to really hone in on out of 800 acres?
Yeah.
So these people are really wanting more, which is awesome, because if you're, just as obsessed as we are with it, you're like, you feel the same. And so when you're saying stuff like that to me right now, like, hey, I'm all for showing trail camera updates and filling feeders and, some views from the blind, or, kill shots, hopefully, but you're also, we set this up here because of this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like there's a lot of people now that are out there trying to figure that out, more so than just, wow, you shot a nice buck. I mean, we're all here for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that, or something along those lines, earlier today. I was actually watching an episode of another show on CarbonTV, Soul Seekers, which is a guy down here local to me, actually, Johnny Mac, that I've gotten to know a little bit, and he has a show on there that's pretty good. But I was watching one of his episodes this morning, and I thought to myself, I was like, thinking back, same, growing up, watching old monster buck VHS tapes and that kind of thing, and just the kill shot hunt itself. And I was thinking, when did this transition happen to more of the storytelling, more of the overall adventure of the hunt, the other information and educational points of it? And I know that there were some shows in the early 2000s, like the Real Tree Road Trips, or Waddell when he went bone collector, and I'm speaking to the ones that I personally observed a lot. That's why I mention them. But they started telling more of a story, and then I think when everything pushed online, obviously that was a big drive behind it. But then you think of just the generation of hunter right now, the new generation of hunter. I remember me growing up and learning how to hunt. I learned how to hunt with my dad. So everything that I taught, all my questions, I was asking him. All of the stuff I wanted to know, I learned from him, and have, built upon that over time with other outside sources and whatnot. But now everything's just at your fingertips, with especially with
Yeah.
a newer, younger generation of hunters. So when they want to know something, when they want to learn how to do something, instead of asking the old timer that's been doing it for 40 years, they and I mean, nothing against either one, but they go to their smartphone
Yeah.
and they look it up and they watch a YouTube video. That's the age that we've transitioned into, and that has a lot to do, to your point as well, with that people wanting that education, those educational points in these series and everything. So
Yeah. When you were saying you were thinking to yourself, when did this switch happen? And the first thing that was in my head was YouTube. As
yeah,
soon as YouTube got big, it was like it just launched the information. And like you said, technology is a curse and a blessing. And I think more of us need to go back to that guy that's been hunting for 40 years.
yeah,
And, hey, you want to do research on YouTube and everything else, do it. Man, I do it. Yeah, but don't overlook that, that guy that that's, been in the woods for 30, 40 years, and ask them some of these questions that you got, especially if you're a newer hunter, because man, the way that some of these guys can articulate it and explain it to you in your personal situation, I think you'll gain more in the short term than watching YouTube videos on somebody killing a big monster buck in Iowa and how they go about it. Because if you're hunting in Texas, I'd much rather talk to the guy at the coffee shop that's got 30 years of whitetail hunting in Texas than what somebody's doing over in Iowa or what I'm doing in the Midwest.
yeah. I never want to turn down a chance to talk to a neighbor either, and I the couple neighbors on this place that we have that I have had a chance to interact with, it's interesting. Like, you start talking hunting, and then it seems like you're just there forever at that point. Just I mean, halfway, just kind of BSing about it, but the like they start talking about their deer and what they've seen over the years and stuff, and these guys have been, whether they hunt predominantly or farm or do cattle or whatever they're doing out there, maybe more so than hunting, they're watching deer while they're out there, and they've seen whitetails and seen what they've done. And I remember year one, we met one neighbor on the road, got to talking with him, and he started talking about this big buck that he had coming in last year and his behavior, and how he bounced across this field between two locations and this, that, and then telling us all about this deer. Deer's probably dead at this point, but I'm listening to him talk about it. I know the field that he's talking about, so in my mind I'm playing it all in my head and thinking about how this deer is behaving and what he's doing, and taking that information and thinking on how it applies to my property right next door, So, and it's just those informal little conversations that have, whether it's a lot or a little, some form of invaluable information that you can take away from it. So,
Well, and it's good to realize that we never know everything. And so don't ever get so arrogant that you don't think you can't learn something from somebody else.
oh yeah,
I don't care if they haven't killed as deer as old or as big or as often as you have. It's always worth a listen. And like you said, neighbors, man, certain deer act different in certain neighborhoods than they do in other neighborhoods. So you can take a lot of things from these conversations with these people, and maybe you only take a little bit, but it could be the difference.
yeah, exactly. It could end up getting you a big deer. You never know.
Yeah. I've been very fortunate in my hunting career that I've had ears open, and it's led to some success.
Your wall behind you on the podcast video, it speaks to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a couple behind me right now, but been fortunate,
Yeah,
been blessed.
absolutely. Well, man, I enjoy chatting with you. We're getting to the end of our podcast time here, but I appreciate you coming on. We won't let it be as long this next time, and I know, especially with the season hot on our heels at this point, we'll be connecting with you several times, hopefully throughout the year, and
Do
doing
we
some.
want to do we want to throw a little teaser out there for what's coming up after Thanksgiving,
Oh,
or do we want to get to that some other time? Because I mean,
we can throw a teaser. What I need to do is get you and Tim on here and record
yep.
one before we go up there. So Michael and and I think I've probably mentioned it at some point in recent weeks or whatnot, but Michael and I both have Colorado whitetail tags or deer tags, excuse me. I
Yep.
got to get it right. I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
Where we both have Colorado deer tags this year, and we're going up to hunt with our Western Regional Coordinator Tim Burgess in northeastern Colorado. Yours is an archery tag too, right?
Mine's both.
Yours both.
Yeah, the way we're setting it up right now is I'm giving myself approximately a week to archery and approximately a week to rifle. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, but hey, we're hunting. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
So
mine's whitetail. My tag's whitetail, either sex. And then, like I said, I'll be able to finish out the last week of archery season and then start out the first week of rifle season. And then what's your tag?
so mine is an archery deer tag, so I can only kill with a bow, but I can kill a muley or a whitetail.
Dude, you don't know how jealous I am. You got a mule.
Dude, I'm excited because I've never in my life hunted mule deer before, so I'm gonna be the novice up there. I'm definitely gonna be leaning on Tim, and I know you've hunted mule deer too before, right?
Yeah, I've hunted them in Colorado two two times in Colorado and once in Nebraska. And dude, if there's one animal I want to hunt every single fall, that's it.
Mm,
But I want to hunt them in September, so we're going out a little bit different. I want and then velvet muleys that you're chasing with a bow in hand. It don't. I haven't figured anything out that gets better,
yeah.
so it's going to be interesting to see this. Dude, I'm gonna be so jealous out there watching you chase mule deer, and I can't. Oh man, so jealous. Like if you're like Mike, I'm gonna go after that whitetail. I'm probably gonna look at you and say, Sam, you got whitetail at home. You know, there's a mule deer over there. Go get him.
Well, yeah, you definitely get first dibs on the whitetail, and I guess I'll
Now,
take
if
the
it's a big,
burden. I'll take the burden of having the mule deer, but
I
um,
mean, if it's a big whitetail, I get it too. I mean, Tim's put some pretty exceptional whitetail down up there, so I
so
can't keep either one of them up.
I'm trying not to have unrealistic expectations because Tim, as history has shown, and as Tim has shared with us previously, they have some really good quality, both muley and whitetail up there where he's at.
Yeah,
That I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody that goes on any hunting trip, there's always that dream in the back of your mind, even if you are thinking you're going to kill a doe or a cow elk or something like that. There's always that thought in the back. I've hit my mic twice now. There's always that thought in the back of your mind. What if a giant just walks out? Everybody thinks that, and I'm thinking that for sure. But I'm trying to be realistic with it, and I know that it's probably not going to be an easy hunt, especially with a bow. And the first
yeah.
the first decent opportunity that I get, it's happening. So
Well, and with mule deer stalking with a bow, quantity is definitely going to be a good thing. But I've learned over the years, and we don't got to dive in there too deep, but patience, man, patience is key when it comes to a bow in your hand and stalking. Because I wish I had a little more patience on those two Colorado trips, and I'd have a couple more on the wall. So
well, we're definitely going to give it our best shot and give it everything we got up there. I'm excited, and I think I'll leave it at that. That's a whole nother podcast, and I think that's worth, like I said, at some point before the trip, I need to get you and Tim on here so that us three, can all give a little preview to the experience that we're about to embark on. So
Yeah, especially I think if we can work it out to do it sometime in November, because the juices are going to be flowing, dude. We're going to be so amped up for that.
oh yeah, I'm already pumped up and excited. I
Yeah,
think about it and I can't stop smiling. So it's been it not just getting to chase mule deer, but just getting to hunt somewhere else too is
yeah,
exciting because I haven't hunted out of Texas since 2019. So I'm primed and ready to get back into another state. So it's gonna be good.
yeah. Get that shotgun ready.
Oh yeah,
Them pheasants are calling.
yeah. I gotta kill a deer first.
We got time for all of it.
Oh yeah. Well, man, we'll wrap up the podcast. I appreciate you coming on again. We'll get you on here pretty soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thank you all for listening. We plug our sponsors at the beginning now, so I guess I can wrap it up. But I will just remind y'all this at the time y'all are listening to this episode. This is the last week that you guys can vote for Fall Obsession in the 2023 Carbon Awards on CarbonTV. We have been nominated for Best Podcast. That's Fall Obsession Podcast. And our Texas Dirt Series also got a nomination for the Best Comedic Moment. I would have nominated the whole series for that because it's just, looking back, it's just kind of a joke sometimes in my mind. But old Nick Powell's taking his Toyota Prius out there on the hunting lease got us an honorable nomination for the comedic moment. So head to Carbon TV. There's a drop down menu on the left hand side that'll take you to the Carbon Awards voting section. It takes 30 seconds for you guys to vote for Fall Obsession for Best Podcast, Texas Dirt for Best Comedic Moment, and while you're there, be sure that you vote for our friends over at Soul Seekers for the Best Show Open as well. You can vote once a day, every day through the 31st. All right, guys. Thank you all for listening to another podcast. We're back again next week. I'll catch you then.